Conspiracy Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Ren Thomas, and I'm here with you for the duration of the portal because it's not safe to leave you unattended. I don't believe anyway. So please enjoy yourself. I'm glad you guys are here. It's a Friday night, and I'm absolutely tickled that you're spending at least part of it with me. I'm looking through the TFR chat. It's very full, but we're following Freaky Friday, so what do you expect? But TFR Wookie's in there, Just a Guy is in there, Ken is in there, Paradoxical Anomaly is in there, DJ Caveman, DJ B2, Psycho Dave is in there, Polynation, King Sweet, Watchman on the Wall, Bill 13, Daryl Bowles, Kev Baker's in there, and Max and Da. So it's a full house in the chat on TFR. It's really cool to see the numbers that high. But again, I know it's just probably a lot of you are here from the Friday crew, and I understand it's a tough tough show to follow. But I hope you guys are doing great as well. Thanks so much for being here for as much of it as you're here for. The people are piling in on the YouTube as well. The numbers are going up. There's always a little slower for people to get into YouTube, and I think it's because they got to sit through an ad, and that, of course, ties it up a little bit. But so far, we got Armand in there, Aussie Tiger Rock Fam, Bigfoot Michigan Rob is in there, Julia Blacktree is in there, Deb Varner's in there, Gemini Moon, Many Musings, Renee Cruz, Rivers, and Suzanne Page. And I see it's climbing, so we'll just have to see how many end up in here. But I hope you guys are doing great. It's Friday night. We're going to discuss a whole lot of things tonight because, it's just my show and that's what I want to do. I don't have a guest here tonight, so, I like to just do these. I do the Paranormal Portal bedtime stories every night that we don't have 2-hour shows, but every once in a while I like to get back to a topic and just talk about it, or in tonight's case, a few topics. These are some really cool topics that I think, they're really interesting to cover. Things we're going to cover tonight, like time slips. And if you're not familiar with time slips, ladies and gentlemen, there's the time travel, time slips, time anomalies, there's Mandela effects, there's all kinds of these different, variations of dimensional reality that seem to occur and people are experiencing. But a time slip might be, for instance, and I don't remember the people's name, but they were these ladies that were on tour from England over in France, and they were checking out the Versailles Castle. And, it was more modern times, maybe the 50s or 60s. And as they were touring it, suddenly they turned a corner in the courtyard and back. Everybody was in full dress regalia, and they swear that they saw Marie Antoinette sitting there, opening a package or eating something, eating cake maybe, I don't know. But it was just an instantaneous boom. They turned a corner and they basically time slipped to a different time. And apparently the oddity here is that by their recounting of the events, at least some people were aware that they were there from that different time frame. Now, it just disappeared as quickly as it came, but they actually witnessed like an echo, for lack of a better term. And I find those kind of phenomena really interesting because I think they demonstrate that, reality is fluid. It's not a fixed, rigid thing. And that perhaps these kind of things happen all the time in one extent or another. Now, I truly believe that I've experienced somewhat of a time slip myself. It was really more like divine intervention, but it was really a cool situation. And I've shared this on the show before. What? What is that, Bill? What are you talking about? Chat, TFR family has reportedly died. What? I don't know what it's talking about. Who may have died? What? I don't know. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reacting to apparently somebody may have passed away that's a TFR regularly and a regular in the chat room, and I'm absolutely sorry to hear that. I don't know who it is they're talking about, but if that's true or not, I guess I'll have to check with Lucky, because I'm sure if anybody knows, she would. I don't know. I've not heard about this before, but okay. Watchman on the wall. Well, let me know who that is, if you would, please. Send me a private message in TFR, if you would, please. I would definitely want to know who that is. If it's anybody that's been a regular on TFR is family to us, just like our YouTube crowd is our family as well. And if somebody's passed, of course, we want to definitely acknowledge that and honor that. So I sure as hell hope you're not joking, because that would be just really, really poor taste. But anyway, let me know in a private message, if you would, please. Okay. I did ask him, Bill, so I don't know. Maybe he'll tell me. I don't know what's going on. But very, very strange, very very tragic if that's the case. Yeah, if you have a story of your own, by the way, please send them to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. I'd love to share your stories on the air. Additionally, the phone lines are open tonight. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm just responding again to what I see in the chat. But let's see. What was I going to say? Oh, the phone lines. The phone lines are open. Took me out of my game to consider that. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But that's not the kind of news you hear all the time, thank God. But even though it's potentially very tragic. So I know we all got to make that journey sometime. And, I understand. But still, it doesn't make it easy for those of us that are left behind. 720-923-0500 is the call-in number. Again, 720-923-0500 is the call-in number if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, or just have something you'd like to discuss, because, yeah. Sorry, I got two different chats going here, and I'm trying to make sense out of what I'm seeing here. All right, so anyway. Oh. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe this is all tongue in cheek and I missed the joke. Sorry. If that's the case, I hope that's the case, because God, I don't know. But anyway, we are going to discuss many different anomalies tonight and many different things that happen. And we'll go through some few oddities. There's a bunch of these things that I pulled up that I thought were really interesting, and basically, this is coming from livescience.com, and it's covering the top 10 unexplained phenomena. And again, this is from livescience.com, so it's not just the National Enquirer or something, or World News Daily or whatever the hell that rag is, but the hot sheets for the UFO searchers, of course. But the first one on their list is something called the Taos hum. And I found this really interesting. I just breezed through a few of these before the show, but I'm going to read it for what they're talking about. And I've not heard of this before, but I have some thoughts on this as to what it might be. But some residents and visitors in the small city of Taos, New Mexico, have for years been annoyed and puzzled by the mysterious and faint low-frequency hum in the desert. Oddly, only about 2% of Taos residents report hearing the sound, and some believe it's caused by unusual acoustics, and others suspect mass hysteria or some secret sinister purpose. Whether described as a whir, hum, or buzz, and whatever psychological, natural, or supernatural, no one has yet been able to locate the sound's origin. Thing is, a survey revealed that those who can claim to hear the sounds actually hear many different sounds, suggesting the experience may be subjective, not actually objective sounds, and pretty certainly not one particular sound. And that is curious. I don't know if there's some geological explanation for that, like perhaps just a natural resonance. And the truth of the matter is that people have varying ranges of hearing, and there are certain people out there that can hear a much wider range of sound than the norm. They can be very clearly clinically tested and shown to be able to demonstrate that extra range of hearing, and it's neither here nor there. It doesn't make them any more special or anything like that, but it is interesting that some people are able to perceive a wider range of frequency of sound. Now, I don't know, when I hear things like this, I think about, well, could it be that there is a convergence of ley lines there in that community, and they could perhaps be hearing the natural resonance of that phenomena? I know that the whole deserts in the Southwest are extremely spiritual places, and have been revered since ancient times by many First Nation tribes as being very mystical areas, and so perhaps this is a modern day recording or experience of some of those ancient beliefs and how they came to be. I think it's really cool. I don't know what it means. I don't pretend to know the significance of it. But when you hear reports, like so many people were hearing these loud booms and roars and things like that, and even our own Ken Rotman from Australia recorded some really weird anomalies just near his home just last year, and I think it was just last year. And it really was pretty spectacular. He shared those with us, and we played them on the show back then. But what are these things? And unfortunately, nobody seems to know, or nobody's invested the amount of time and energy and resources to figure it out. Now, does it have any long-term significance? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's just, like I said, maybe it's just the ability of a certain portion or percentage of our population that can hear these other sounds that maybe have always been going on. Maybe it's not something new and different. It's hard to know, but it is interesting that people are reporting that, and there is some consistency to that reporting, although from the snippets we got here, it sounds like even though several people are reported hearing the sounds they're hearing appear to be pretty subjective, and that is interesting. And I don't know what to make of that, other than sometimes you kind of think, well, is it just people trying to jump on a bandwagon? Like, oh yeah, I hear that too. Yeah. Everybody's got that one friend or one family member that no matter what's wrong with you, if you've got a sniffle, a cough, if you've got an itch in your throat, you tell them about it, and they'll be experiencing that exact same thing. And my grandma was always that way. Oh yeah, I've got some crud too. She would always say, and it was sweet and funny. I never, I mean, she wasn't doing it to be a jerk or anything. It was just that, maybe she was, I don't know. But I always thought it was kind of cute how no matter what I had wrong with me, she had, and believe me, I got a lot wrong with me, but she also was experiencing those things, she would say. And maybe she sincerely was, but it was just, I don't know. I just found it funny. So that's an interesting phenomenon. I've not heard of that before. It doesn't seem to be related to the other weird aerial phenomena of sound that people are hearing, these loud booms and roars and screeches and stuff. But whatever's going on, I don't know. I believe that the earth probably makes a bunch of different sounds, and maybe we're just not really used to listening anymore. Maybe our ancestors, this would have been normal for them. But in our pace of life and in our flood of technology and electromagnetic wavelengths that are flying around for our communication, maybe those things just get drowned out. I don't know. Maybe it's fluoride. I don't know. But it is interesting that still people are reporting this. And again, I don't know the significance of it, but I think the fact that it is being reported makes it significant for some reason. Of course, the next thing they put on their list was Bigfoot, but we've covered Bigfoot ad nauseum on our show and will continue to. So I'm not going to dedicate a thumbnail to that. The other one that they're talking about here in live science is intuition. And I think we've all experienced some form of intuition or another. I mean, that's not a fantastical thing at all. People just have intuition. It seems to be something that's hardwired into us to some extent. Not that we always listen to it, and then most people probably don't, but I do believe that everyone has it. Everyone's experienced that, you walk into a place and just get a bad feeling, not always sure why, but, and that is intuition. That's maybe subconsciously you're picking up something that's firing an intuitive response, or maybe you're actually picking up an energetic wave that just gives you a bad feeling. Whatever the case may be, intuition is a very powerful thing. I know my own intuition has many, many times saved me from real problems, getting out of situations that turned ugly. So I always follow my intuition, because the minute you don't, you're probably in a world of hurt. So let's see what they say about it here. It says, whether we call it gut feeling or the sixth sense or something else, we all have experienced intuition at one time or another. Of course, gut feelings are often wrong. Well, really? Yeah, I don't think mine are wrong. How many times during aircraft turbulence have you been sure your plane was going to go down? I don't think that that's intuition. I think that's just hysteria. Some people are just afraid to fly. But they do seem to be right much of the time. Psychologists note that people subconsciously pick up information about the world around us, leading us to seemingly sense or know information without knowing exactly how or why we know it. But cases of intuition are difficult to prove or study, and psychology may only be part of the answer. If your intuition is telling you that the next slide is about mysterious disappearances, you're right. Oh, I love the humor they throw into these things. Oh, live science is getting funny, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's go next here and see what's going on with these disappearances. Now, this of course, I'm going to read it, but we'll talk a little bit about this at the end. People disappear for various reasons. Most are just runaways. Some succumb to an accident. A few are abducted or killed, but most are eventually found. Not so with truly mysterious disappearances. From the crew of the Marie Celeste to Jimmy Hoffa, Amelia Earhart, Natalie Holloway, and some people seem to have vanished without a trace. When missing persons are found, it's always through police work, confession, or accident, never by psychic detectives. And that's actually not true. There are many documented cases where psychic detectives have helped recover missing people. But when the evidence is lacking and leads are lost, even police and forensic science can't always solve the crime. Of course, everybody, probably most of us, think about David Paulides' Missing 411 series. And if you're not familiar with that, you should definitely check it out. There's plenty of interviews of David Paulides on YouTube, and he has his own podcast as well. But it's really, he's a ex MUFON researcher, or maybe he's still a MUFON researcher and a BFRO guy or Bigfoot researcher, but he's also an ex police officer and has many years of being a police officer, and he's done a really good job of following a logical trail of evidence and trying to sort out what are truly fantastical disappearances and what may be explained in so many other ways. But the ones that he isolates as being, what am I trying to say? God, the word is just gone from my head. The ones that are truly anomalous, he puts in his books, and they are absolutely mind-boggling, much like people walking over miles of terrain that are physically unable to do that, like infirmed old people going over mountains and valleys and rough, incredibly harsh terrain, and their bodies being found somewhere miles away from where they were. People being found without shoes, like oftentimes shoes are found just neatly set aside, and yet when the people are found, and most often they're not found alive, their socks will show no wear, like they weren't walking in their stocking feet, and some people disappear in groups, just suddenly, boom, they're gone. and everybody's looking around like, where did he go? No clue as to what happened to these people. And they even bring in tracking dogs and stuff like the bloodhounds and things like that. These are, trained tracking dogs. And for some reason, on many of these types of cases, the dogs will refuse to track. They won't do it. So they may be catching the scent of something, but they don't want to find it, So whatever the hell that is, it's got to be something pretty horrible. I know a lot of us seem to gravitate towards Bigfoot or UFOs for these kind of things, and those could very well be. Perhaps some of them are just dimensional anomalies where, we've talked about this many times on the show, that maybe wormholes or portals open and close naturally all the time, all around the world, and sometimes just people are in the wrong place and get swallowed up by them and maybe deposited in a different reality, a different time. Who knows, But very curious, whatever the case is. And if you're not familiar with this work, definitely check it out, because it's going to make you keep scratching your head for a long time. I'm still perplexed by those and absolutely fascinated by the phenomena. It does, again, demonstrate something pretty significant is going on. But unfortunately, the gravity of those situations are so horrible. Sometimes it's children that are taken and just gone. They're just never to be seen again. And I can't imagine a fresher kind of hell for any parent. But anyway, let's check it out. What's next? Ghosts are next. Let's see what they have to say about ghosts on Live Science. All right, from the Shakespeare play Macbeth to the NBC Medium series, spirits of the dead have long made an appearance in our culture and folklore. Many people have reported seeing apparitions of both shadowy strangers and departed loved ones. Though definitive proof for the existence of ghosts remains elusive, sincere eyewitnesses continue to report seeing, photographing, and even communicating with ghosts. Ghost investigators hope to one day prove that the dead can contact the living, providing a final answer to the mystery. I don't know. I believe they're real. I've kind of built the show around the whole paranormal phenomena, so I'm in on this one. I'm all in. I think they're real. I don't necessarily know that they're always people. I don't believe the layman's idea of ghosts is that people live, they die, and some people turn into ghosts and then haunt places. But I believe that there's a whole bunch of different things that exist in what we call spiritually. And many of them were never people. They're just different kind of life forms, I think. So very interesting phenomena. But yeah, I have no doubt that there are ghosts and spirits around. I don't pretend to understand it all, but I don't doubt that they're there. And I know most of you listening don't as well. Not all of you. I'm sure there's a few of you out there, like even Don still has his skeptical disposition on the ghostly thing. But I don't know. At some point with him, I think he just doesn't want to believe because things become much spookier. I'm just kidding, Don. We love you. Let's see. What is the next one? Oh, deja vu. Now, we just got a couple minutes before break, but I'm going to read deja vu quick. Deja vu is a French phrase meaning already seen, referring to the distinct, puzzling, and mysterious feeling of having experienced a specific set of circumstances before. A woman might walk into a building, for example, in a foreign country she'd never visited, and sense that the setting is eerily and intimately familiar. Some attribute deja vu to psychic experiences or unbidden glimpses of previous lives, and as with intuition, see number 3, research into human psychology can offer more naturalistic explanations, really. But ultimately, the cause and nature of the phenomenon itself remains a mystery. And I think it has to, because we don't necessarily understand how the hell our brains work. So, as much as science would love to say, well, this is why, there's so many mysteries just about how the hell we do what we do and how is all this happening that, there's too many questions yet to be answered for science to be definitive on any of these things, I think, because, we just have a lot to learn. We've got some things dialed in, and the sciences are really impressive, but we've got a lot to learn. That's my opinion of it. But again, ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open tonight. If you got something you would love to discuss, by all means, please feel free to do so. Again, the number is 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500. And that is the phone line for the portal. It's not the same as the TFR phone line, so it's just ours. And if you're watching the stream on YouTube, please subscribe. We hit our 3,000 subscribers, and that was really a big deal. Pretty awesome, but we really want to see this continue to grow and definitely spread the word. But what else is going on? There's something else I wanted to touch base. Today, make sure, if you haven't already, check out our podcast. The Friday podcast was released today, and that is interview. It was Jerry, wasn't it, today? I'm just in kind of a mind numb. I've been up since 2 a.m., so my head's kind of all screwy, which isn't necessarily abnormal. That's kind of normal. But let me just refresh this. Today's episode was Jerry Klein. That's right. I thought so, but then I thought, God, I don't want to say this wrong. So Jerry's been a guest here on the show, on our live show, and he called in with me and did one of the podcasts. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. It's available wherever podcasts are found. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a couple-minute break here, and we'll be right back. So don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal coming right up.
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second half hour of our show tonight. Good news. Apparently nobody died. It was just some guy being a dick. So we got that going for us. I was just like, what? Somebody didn't make it? What's going on? Man, I didn't even know somebody was sick. So, all right. So we got that sorted out. I checked on the break and the wonderful people over in the TFR chat set me straight. It's one of those things, you know, I'm doing the show and you look up and say, someone died. I'm like, what? So, I mean, there you go. So anyway, no problem. I guess it was humor. And in that guy's head, it was funny. And good on you, mate. But, all right, let's continue. I would have booted him if he would have stuck around. No, I'm just kidding. I can take a joke. I can take humor. That just was really, really not good humor, in my opinion. Joking about people dying is not necessarily funny in my book of things that are funny. Anyway, so we are back at it here. I hope you had a good break and everything went well for you. But I'm back, so I guess I better get back to work. Got to punch the clock here. So, no, what? Who? What? Oh, yeah, I got to quit doing that. I glance up at the chat and see one word, and then I try to understand everything that's going on. And I usually look pretty stupid when I do that. So I'm going to wait till I see my big yellow name, if that happens, and then I'll try to see what the hell's going on. Sorry. All right, so let's continue here in our list from Live Science regarding strange things that science can't explain. Top 10 unexplained phenomena from Live Science, and they're not doing bad. I gotta admit, they're doing a pretty good job. I think it's pretty objective the way they're presenting it. It's not completely like, oh, these people are mental patients, and that to me is the worst when these people of academia treat anyone that believes in anything different from them as being somehow broken, and it's just not the case. I mean, we all have different ideas and different experiences that formulate our idea of our subjective realities. And so, being truly scientific, they should have an open mind. But anyway, you're the minion pounding. That's my boy. I don't even know what he's banging on for sure, but all right. So this one is UFOs. And they say there's no doubt that UFOs, and then in parentheses they put unidentified flying objects, exist. Many people see these things in the skies that they cannot identify, ranging from aircraft to meteors. Well, that's kind of crappy. So they went and categorized it as just aircraft to meteors, and everyone else is stupid. Whether or not any of those objects on lights are alien spacecraft is another matter entirely. Given the fantastic distances and effort involved in just getting to Earth from across the universe, such a scenario seems unlikely. Still, while careful investigation has revealed known causes for most sighting reports, some UFO incidents will always remain unexplained. Yeah, I think so. Again, do people misidentify things that they believe are UFOs? For sure. Most people are not, and I hate to use this because it sounds condescending, but it's most people are not trained observers. They are not trained to, understand what craft should be in the sky, what it should be able to do, and what is definitely beyond the realm of possibility. But I think anybody that can chew crackers and walk at the same time can look at, a flying saucer and go, hey, that's probably not one of ours. I think that anybody is probably qualified to make that distinction. But people, I think, oftentimes fall victim to, I want to see a UFO. I saw something I don't understand, so that was a UFO. Now, in the traditional sense, it really was because it's unidentified, so it is actually UFO. Is it actually alien? I don't know. With all of the stories of reverse engineering and backwards engineering, and which are the same thing, and I don't know why I said both of them, but it just came out. You got 2 for the price of 1 there, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's on sale. But there are things up there that don't make sense. There are so many things that people are witnessing that doesn't quantify. Like, for instance, the Phoenix lights. Those were apparently 5 or 6 glowing discs that seemed to be affixed on a boomerang-shaped craft. But that craft, the scale of it was apparently miles across or a mile across. And as far as I know, we don't have anything that flies that's a mile across. It's just, we don't build them that big quite yet. And so, all of the witnesses in Phoenix and, witnessed something that wasn't from around here, in my opinion. So anyway, let's get on to the next one. I don't think any of us need convincing that there could be UFOs. All right. Near-death experiences and life after death. So people who were once near death have sometimes reported it says near death. Okay. That in and of itself is kind of a dismissal because most people actually did die. They were clinically dead, and including the absence of any kind of neural brain activity. So people who were once near death and have sometimes reported various mystical experiences such as going through a tunnel and emerging in a light, being reunited with loved ones, a sense of peace, etc., that may suggest an existence beyond the grave. While such experiences are profound, no one has returned with proof or verifiable information from beyond the grave. I don't think you can probably carry a chair through the tunnel of light. Skeptics suggest that the experiences are explainable as natural and predictable hallucinations of a traumatized brain. A study of people in cardiac arrest in 2015 found that when the heart is dying, it gets peppered by signals from the brain, which tries to stay active. And the scramble of signals might be responsible for near-death experiences, researchers figure. I don't know. I don't think that sums it up. And the interesting part is that Dr. Raymond Moody did a bunch of research on near-death experiences, and he focused his research towards children because they don't have the predisposed ideologies. They don't have the iconic figures in their head that they're expecting to see, and still found the correlation of events to be absolutely profound. And why do they all experience the same phenomena if there isn't something to that? And this this is only heart attack patients that they're referring to in here to dismiss this, but people die of stroke and come back, and people die in car crashes and come back, and medical issues like even on an operating table being over anesthetized or whatever, and food allergies, whatever the case is. And still people report going through these tunnels of light and meeting with people that they knew and loved, and sometimes religious figures, sometimes not. But just a feeling of wonder and peace and love. And, if that's not, all of those people aren't having heart attacks. So that already, would seem to negate their possible explanation of scrambled signals from people having a heart attack. It just doesn't wash for me. And granted, I do want to believe in it. Of course I do. Who the hell doesn't want to believe in life after death? I mean, who wants to believe that this is as good as it gets? I mean, really. Of course we want to believe in it. That's not a weakness. And it's really cool that some people come back from those experiences and verify that belief for us. I don't think that's a bad thing. All right. So the next one is psychic powers and ESP. And ESP, psychic powers and ESP. Psychic powers and extrasensory perception, ESP, rank among the top 10 unexplainable phenomena, if for no other reason than the belief in them is so widespread. Many people believe that intuition is a form of psychic power, in a way of accessing arcane or special knowledge about the world or the future. Researchers have tested people who claim to have psychic powers, though the results under controlled scientific conditions have so far been negative or ambiguous, and some have argued that psychic powers cannot be tested or for some reason diminish in the presence of skeptics or scientists. If this is true, science will never be able to prove or disprove the existence of psychic powers. Well, yeah, I mean, because you're going to be in a stressful condition. You can't test somebody and not have them experiencing a pretty profound level of stress, because essentially you're testing the validity of what might be the foundation of their entire life. So, sure, they would be fearful, and sure, that would probably lend to some ambiguous results. The last slide says, the medical science is only beginning to understand the ways in which the mind influences the body. The placebo effect, for example, demonstrates that people can, at times, cause a relief in medical symptoms or suffering by believing the cures to be effective, whether they actually are or not, using processes only poorly understood. The body's ability to heal itself is far more amazing than anything modern science could create. So while there are many unexplainable phenomena, and frankly some of them are dubious, the explainable science of the body and mind, even if you're still trying to figure much of it out, may be among the most amazing phenomena of all. I can agree with that. So, pretty cool article. It wasn't too bad. It was just a slideshow, but interesting all the same. So, I thought those were kind of cool to go over because they do demonstrate a broad range of many different phenomena that we deal with. We do have a call, so let's get to the call and see what is going on. And this is area code 701. You're on the air.
Hello, my brother from the same Mother Earth.
Hello, Mr. Nacy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing as fantastic as the universe will allow. Thank you for asking.
All right.
Say, if you would humble me to chime in a little bit about what you were just going over.
Sure, by all means.
But if we think of the incredible, miraculous perfection of the individual entity that you are, and we quantify what's going down within your even cells, in your brain, because it's electromagnetic, governs the entirety of everything. So in your brain, you have your skull, your cranium, you have thin veils that are covering your brain and all of your synapses and your glands and all of this stuff. And when that electromagnetic occurrence happens, thought occurs, circulatory system occurs, respiration occurs, the digestive system automatically occurs, and it works in a harmonious electromagnetic clock. And if we are part of this universe, as above, so below, that electromagnetic field of our brain is going to be affected by the next largest thing, the Earth. The next closest largest thing is the moon. The next largest closest thing, and it goes on and on from there. And then we have the sun. Well, each of these entities or celestial bodies have their own electromagnetic occurrence that's happening. And as these great cycles occur from a minute to from a second to a minute to an hour, we have these grand cycles of the epoch or the ages, where all of these incredible electromagnetic entities get calibrated, or they become in an alignment. And when that alignment occurs, all of these different electromagnetic conditions occur, from the sun to the moon to the earth to us. So as they claim that we are using less than 10% of our brain, and since our brain is electromagnetic, imagine as we are going through these shifts of time with those electromagnetic frequencies changing and thus manipulating our brain. Isn't it incredible to think that we are starting to awaken because of these occurrences? And with these occurrences, our brains, which is basically like a neurotransmitter and a receiver, we're able to fine-tune them. And that's basically the explanation of mental telepathy. That if I become so familiar with you that we become in alignment with each other, or we become attuned or atone with each other. Right. Just like dialing in a radio and a frequency. And so if we have these ghosts or these UFOs or these entities that are there, we're just not, as you said, observing them. And once we start learning to observe them, then we start fine-tuning our radios, our electromagnetic frequency. And so I think, feel that because of the epoch and the changes that is going on, and the fact that our moon, our lunar month, is 30 days now, that in itself is also changing our electromagnetic fields.
Very cool.
So keep your arms and feet inside the vehicle at all times, fly in motion.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that we're going to start seeing more things. And there are going to be some people that are going to kind of pop their noodle, like when Neo couldn't handle realizing the whole matrix.
Yep.
But this is where we have to come in connection with ourselves and sync in with ourselves and meditate. And I mean, it's a wonderful, joyous time to be. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than here with you, my brother.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And no, I think you're right. I think that, awareness is shaped by realization. And realization is a really powerful word because it means making something real. And if you break it down to the fact that we are creator beings, by sheer will alone, we create so much, even on the subconscious level. But what could we do if we were able to actively and knowledgeably create? What could we build? What could we manifest in our world? And it gets really exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And then if you think that the powers that should not be, how they utilize additives and preservatives and pesticides and herbicides and chemtrails and electromagnetic 5G EMF that is messing with our brains.
Right.
And then you throw on top of that, we have our oogly googlies being distracted by all the pixelations. Are they purposely trying to subdue our metaphysical growth? Because that in itself is a form of control.
Sure. I mean,
because if we really realized how free we are, then they have no control.
Right. And then you look at fluoride as well as, numbing the senses and dulling us down. And it seems if it's not intentional, it's at the very least disturbing. But it seems to have an intent, all of these things acting in concert together. And that's extraordinarily tragic.
And when you were talking earlier about this, the scientific research having a hard time to scientifically prove this metaphysical realm. Well, if you think of the Holy Trinity of positive, negative, and neutral, and just for denotation purpose, let's say science is negative, because I think it's positive and negative, really,
Sure,
but just
absolutely.
for this. So if science is the opposite, A, then B would have to be the metaphysical.
Mhm.
And if science is already going into it that metaphysics don't work, and metaphysics is going into it like it works, but you don't trust me, they're going to cancel each other out and become neutral. And so then how can they get an accurate denotation of it?
Oh, sure. Now, here's the thing that I think, and in that one slide it talked about psychic experiences, and I gotta, in my mind, I'm defaulting to the double slit experiment. So what? And for those of you that don't know, basically they fired protons at a barrier, and the barrier had two slits in it, and then they had a sensor on the other side, and the idea that was that the proton would go through either the right or left slit, these vertical slits, and as they watched it, sure enough, it was pretty much at the percentage of chance that they expected, and it went right or left. What they found was when nobody was there observing, that the photons became waves and went through both at the same time. Now, that is a direct example of how observing something shaped its reality. And I think that the profound measure of that is not, I don't even think we are beginning to understand how amazing that is. But if you are testing somebody for their psychic ability, but you are going into it, observing it, with the expectation that it's not real, then you are right. That is going to definitely affect the outcomes, because that energy is going to interfere with the person's energy that does believe it, and they're going to get very skewed results because of that. So I think that, for any scientist to embark on this kind of study, they need to have a completely open mind and be prepared to accept whatever comes of it, not have predisposed ideas of what to expect. And for any scientist to go into testing psychic ability, they're coming in there with the idea that this is a bunch of bunk, but I want to prove it. I want to prove it's not real. They're not going to prove it's real. They're going to prove it's not real. And so unfortunately, the person being tested really doesn't stand a chance, because they're already dealing with that reality, that person's reality. And in order to break through it, you'd have to be someone, maybe just the other side of Christ, to do it. Really, you'd have to be able to, pretty much walk on water and say, in your face. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And, Mother Mary, she used to get so upset with Jesus every time she had to give him a bath, because he was like a fishing bobber, just, and she kept trying to hold him down and like, Jesus, come on, Jesus. But
I'm sure
I'm going to give you one of my
right?
secret delights.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I said, I'm sure that's a true story. Anyway.
Right. Well, when I used to babysit for Jesus, I can't confirm or deny I used to babysit for Jesus. Okay. But one of my secret absolute delights is a gentleman named Ken Wielder.
Okay.
He's called the Angry Photographer. He's written, I think, 4 editions of what magnetism is.
Okay.
And I would highly suggest people check this guy out, because when he explains the properties behind magnetism, mm-hmm. and when you use that in theorizing the possibilities, it makes so much more sense. Huh. And he uses the word simplex, because he says it's really simple, but because we are who we are, we make it complex. And so it's simplex.
Okay.
But he explains about that photon test.
Oh, sure.
On it, and he breaks it down in a really simple form. And there's a lot more to that than just a simple test of what you just explained with it and stuff. But
sure.
I'll let you go, my brother. I always enjoy listening to the shows.
All right. Thanks, brother. And I appreciate you calling in. Thanks for being a part of it.
You bet. Be great.
All right. Good night.
Cheers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Naysay, and we always appreciate phone calls here on the portal when you guys share your knowledge. You share your gnosis, and my gnosis becomes more powerful. My gnosis is more powerful than yours. No, it certainly isn't. I love learning, and I love when you guys teach me things. And you always do. You guys always teach me something, so very cool. I just want to take a moment before the hour break and say, if you have not checked out on YouTube, go to YouTube and look for the podcast as well. But the Confessionals podcast is hosted by Tony Merkel, and I just want to take a moment to talk about it. If you like the portal, if you enjoy the portal, and you enjoy our subject matter, you're gonna love the Confessionals. And Tony does a really good job. The shows that he puts together are really top notch. He does a lot of witness testimonies and things they've experienced. It's absolutely compelling and amazing. He's a hell of an interviewer, does a phenomenal job, and you can find him on YouTube. He's started a YouTube channel for the Confessionals as well. It's already a really successful podcast. So definitely check it out. Go over there and subscribe and check out the Confessionals, both the YouTube page and his podcast. I know you won't be disappointed. I promise. It's really top quality stuff. So we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, after the hour break. So don't go away, and I'll bring you more of the portal. I promise. On the other side.
Censorship and regulation.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, flipping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid toy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the portal. I hope you're enjoying tonight's festivities as we move into our number 2. I'd like to take a moment to announce that Nikki Colombo will be following us after we're done on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And if you stick around for Nikki's show, she has a guest on tonight, the German scientist Harold Kautzweiler. I hope I pronounced that all right. But should be a great show. If you haven't tuned into Nikki's show before, definitely check it out. She's just a blazing light of fun and love. She's just got a great personality. And she's from down under. And so if you like accents, you're going to love listening to her talk. And then following her, of course, comes Paisley Wild in the spaces in between. And that's a great show talking about paganism and occult, and really informative. She does a wonderful job breaking a lot of that down and strips away a lot of the confusion and just makes sense, I guess is the best way to put it. So definitely a great night on TFR for your lasting entertainment. So after you're done, stick around if you're on TFR. If you're not on TFR, then go there after the show and check these things out. But great entertainment. Thanks, Bill. Bill put up on TFR, put up a Tangina GIF, and it's great. Tangina was awesome in that movie. She was just fantastic. The woman who played her, and I don't remember her name, but God, she played the hell out of that part. It was great. She just had it nailed. I don't know. That was a cool movie, though. It's one of my all-time favorites. I haven't watched it for years, but back in the day, I watched it over and over and over. I just thought it was fantastic, and I still do. Although a lot of the special effects are dated, it's still such a great show. It was so well done. So anyway, let's just roll on through. Oh, Gemini, send me some love. Love you too. Thank you, Gemini. I appreciate that bunches. So, all right, tonight we're kind of doing a whole discussion about our paranormal world. It's definitely a lot of weird things going on, and I wanted to get into some of that weirdness now. I found some things that I haven't even thought about for a long time, but they are strange phenomena that does seem to rear its head from time to time, and really creepy stuff. I do want to talk about time slips at some point here in the show, but I wanted to cover this other stuff first because I think it's really cool. I don't know what the hell I did with it now. What did I do? Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay. So here's one that you haven't heard of for a while, ladies and gentlemen. It's not one that comes up very often, but this is a strange thing, and I don't know what the hell to make of it. And what I'm talking about is spontaneous human combustion. Now, it seems to be a paranormal event. It may just be some electrochemical thing that's going on in these people's bodies and causes some form of spontaneous ignition and super hot burning. I mean, there's people that there's a photo that they include here, and I won't show it because it's pretty graphic, but I mean, it's just this charred corpse of what looks like a woman, except she's burned to ash all the way from her top of her head to just below her torso, but her legs are absolutely intact. So here lies some perfect legs just laying there. It looks like somebody laid out a couple mannequin legs with some stove ash. It's crazy, but what the hell happened? And she's on a wood floor, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the weird part. So if these bodies are just spontaneously igniting like this and burning up like this, how the hell did that wood floor not burn as well? How did that house not burn, light on fire? Because she's in a like an old time house. Looks like probably a early 1900s kind of build. It's just one photo, but there's wood all around. And her corpse is just laying there with two perfect legs, but the rest of her is already cremated. What the hell's going on there? I don't know. Are they people that somehow pissed off the aliens? I don't know. Let's hear about it. So spontaneous human combustion is a weird one, and as far as I know, it remains totally unexplained. There have been hundreds of cases reported, most with similarities. Usually the victim's torso has burned away entirely, and only a small area of charring to the surroundings. Often limbs also remain scorched at the end, but intact otherwise. Just a couple of cases, 1986, retired firefighter George Matt's remains were discovered in his New York apartment. According to some sources, all that was left of him was a leg, a shrunken skull, and pieces of his rib cage. Mary Hardy Reeser spontaneously combusted while sitting in a chair in her Florida home. Upon discovery, all that remained was the burned seat springs, some bones, a shrunken skull, and one foot that was still wearing its slipper. Again, the burning was absolutely localized. So, what the hell is that? And I don't know. I mean, honestly, this is one of those that it's like, huh? So here's the thing. We are like primarily water. It's not like we're full of gasoline or starter fluid or something and batteries. It's like we're primarily water and a lot of stuff that should not burn. It shouldn't burn. Have you ever, like, if you go to build a campfire and you end up picking up some wet logs and try to start a fire, you'll be at it for hours trying to light some punky wet log in the forest with all kinds of different things. Paper, I mean, you're stoking it up and you can take a blowtorch to it for a while and it still won't light. But somehow these people are like sipping tea and poof, it's like ashes. I don't know. This is really bizarre. But again, it comes up so rarely that perhaps no real research has ever been really done on it. Or it's just kind of been forgotten because it's one of those things we don't really hear about it. I don't know. I'm just perplexed. So again, the woman's remains, they're showing the one of the two legs on a wood floor, and all around her is maybe about up to 6 inches around her outline of ash that there's char marks on the floor. Why didn't the floor ignite too? I mean, the floors are lacquered and it's like they should go up like a matchstick if they were introduced to that much heat, that enough heat that would actually turn bone to ash. That doesn't make sense. So what is it? I don't know. I remember hearing a story years and years ago when I was looking into the paranormal when I was just a kid. I was probably 13 or 14 and stumbled across this story. And this one doesn't necessarily have to do with spontaneous combustion, but it does have to do with an event that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that it defies all explanation. And what it was is apparently in this apartment building in New York. Again, I have no facts about it. I can't substantiate it or give it any kind of information that could be quantified or researched. What I had heard, though, when I was looking through all this stuff as a kid, is that allegedly people in one of the apartments were like some 20, 30-year-olds, and there was a whole group of them, a group of 4 or 5, and they were apparently trying to summon demons because there was all the markings on the floor for a summoning, and they were trying to summon some kind of evil, and apparently it worked, but not well for them. Apparently whatever they summoned wasn't real happy to be summoned, because all they found was these mashed robes on this floor, and the bone chips were no bigger than an inch at the largest. Their bodies were absolutely crushed to the floor. And allegedly what the researchers said is it would have taken the weight of an elephant to stand on singular points around their body to smash them so completely. And there is no way the floor would have supported that kind of weight or an impact of any kind. That floor was not strong enough to do it. So it's another one of those weirdies. But now that was a ritualistic thing, and they got a hold of something that didn't want to be gotten a hold of, and basically taught them a lesson they will never forget, because it's the last thing they saw was smashing into their own floor. But in these cases, there's no form of ritual involved. There's no that at least that investigators are finding, but these bodies are absolutely reduced to powder, other than the shrunken skull and maybe some pieces of ribs that were mentioned in here. But the legs on this picture, perfectly fine. Just like you'd expect to, pan up and see the rest of the woman, but no such deal. It's all gone. It's just a pile of ash. Very crazy stuff, and I don't understand that myself. I don't know what the hell could be going on there. It just makes you think of things like those Star Trek guns where they're the ray comes out and then they're just poof. Or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like that. It's that kind of thing. It's like stab them with a stake and they turn to dust. That's what it looks like. Really, it's just like, wow. I don't understand that, ladies and gentlemen, but it's an example of some strange phenomena that is around, and nobody seems to know why. Nobody seems to understand what's going on there, but the fact is that it is going on, at least in some very, very limited fashion. So the next one I wanted to talk was more of a ghostly thing, and this one's kind of cool. This is kind of a collection again, but this is apparently... This is called The Moving Coffins of the Chase Family Vault. And this doesn't sound like... it doesn't sound a whole lot different than a lot of other stories that we cover, but since it's on this page, I thought it was interesting. I had not heard of this story before, so I'm going to read it. Apparently, it's pretty well known, though. When the wealthy Chase family bought a vault, it was already some 80 years old, and the vault was partially underground and hewn out of compacted coral that makes up much of the island's foundations. I don't know which island they're on, but let's see. Much of the island's foundations. Despite its age, it had only ever housed a single occupant, one Thomasina Goddard. The head of the Chase family, Colonel Thomas Chase, decided not to disturb Goddard, and she was soon saved from her lonely prostration when the young Marianne Maria Chase joined her in lead-lined eternity. 2 more deaths followed in the years after. Upon reopening for Thomas Chase's body, it was soon discovered that somehow Dora's coffin had moved from its original position and now rested against the wall, standing on end with its head downward. Oh, that's creepy. Blaming vandals and thieves, the funeral party replaced the coffin, slid the marble slab back over the entrance, and left. And from then on, every time the vault was opened, the contents would be in disarray, including Thomas Chase's heavy casket, which was, according to sources, took 8 men to lift it. 4 times over the following years would the marble slab be heaved aside and the sun's light rush in to illuminate this weird dance macabre. Yeah. By now, the word had spread about the strange movements, and members of the public and island officials began attending the burials in great numbers. It became a spectator sport. It was soon decided that the cement soles would be put in place to indicate tampering. I don't know. Oh, seals, cement seals. Gotcha. 8 months passed, and the governor and a party of men decided to check out the crypt on their own, and the seals were found to be intact, and no evidence of foul play could be seen until reopening. It was witnessed that once again the contents were in disarray. In fact, this time it was particularly chaotic scene that greeted the onlookers as all the contents had moved from their resting places. Mariana's coffin had come to rest against the left wall. Phone. I'll get it in just a sec. I'm going to finish reading this first. And a small chunk had been chipped off of it, seemingly caused by the violence of its journey. The floor's sandy coating was undisturbed, and no sign of flooding or earthquake was apparent. After this incident, though, the story ends abruptly. The bodies were moved to another burial sites, and the chase vault left empty. It still stands vacant to this day at Oistins on the island's southern coast. I don't know which coast, but very interesting. All right, let's get to this call, and this is Miss Diane Swiger. You are on the air.
Hi, guess who?
I already said who. I know. I got caller ID here.
I know. Love you guys.
Love you too. How you doing?
Of course. It's weird. I investigated and okay, I can tell you a little bit about the spontaneous combustion.
Oh,
issue.
please. Yeah. Would love to hear it.
It is known what does it.
Okay.
Although it's very hard to stop it, it is actually a chemical reaction that occurs in some people's bodies under certain conditions. And is not a metaphysical, but it is weird. It is really weird.
Okay.
But there is information on it, and I wish I could remember what they said the conditions exactly were.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things that if you don't want it to happen, you really don't want to let yourself, for one thing, get too dried out.
Sure.
Because it get easier for you to burn.
Oh,
but there are some other things you can do to help make sure that this doesn't happen. But it is actually a chemical thing. It's not or at least all of the provable ones have been a chemical thing. And actually there have been people who have been only partly burned that have been able to be put out in time. Before they entirely burned, but they have lost limbs and stuff over this.
Yes, I've heard of those too. A lot of times they see their limbs smoking or something like that, it doesn't hurt apparently though. From what I've heard from those survivors, it's not a painful thing.
Yeah, it's not even painful. As a matter of fact, you might not even notice right away. But if I were you, it does seem to affect smokers more than non-smokers.
Okay.
Possibly, though, the reason is because if you're smoking, you might not realize that you're smoking. I mean,
That's true.
It could be that if you're a smoker, you don't realize until it's way too late that it's not just a cigarette that's smoking.
That's true. That's a good point.
But, the other thing about oh gosh, there was something else you mentioned and I can't remember it now.
Okay.
I just came in recently. I've been trying not to fall asleep before I get here, but a lot of times I've been falling asleep. I'm really sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I understand.
Guys.
I understand completely, but we always miss you when you're not here, so it's nice when you are.
Well, thank you so much. But I do want to tell you, if you're interested in spontaneous combustion and the causes, I have in the past found, I don't know where they are, I don't have the links for you, but I have in the past found that there's been studies and all kinds of things on it. So the information is findable, but it's a little obscure.
Okay.
So you can find out about it. And you really want to prevent that because it can really mess.
Yeah.
And it comes on very unexpectedly. You don't know that it's going to happen, but there are some people that it's happened to more than once. They
Ay,
just have
ay, ay.
a
That's
tendency to have this thing happen in their bodies that causes it. God, I would hate to be one of those people.
yeah. I mean, it's bad enough if it happens once, but what would it feel like to be wondering, wandering through your life, wondering if you're going to match out at any time?
Yeah, this
That's
is
crazy.
terrible. There's one old guy, I guess he had it happen at least 3 times. And
Oh,
he had a woman with him, I guess it was his wife or something, that would notice and put him out. But God, I don't know how I'd live with that.
I don't know either. You'd be afraid to go to sleep.
Yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to be alone,
Yeah, no
you know.
kidding.
And it's like, and you'd want like fire prevention stuff all over the house, right? So you could put yourself out
Yeah,
at any
always carry a
moment, and
pitcher of water with you. Yeah,
yeah, or something, have fire extinguishers ready or
yeah,
baking soda nearby so you can dump it on yourself or something.
right.
God, that's horrible.
It
So
is.
I think being buried alive, that's got to be one of the you know, burning to death without being able to put yourself out. Blah.
That would be, but that again, I just keep thinking that if it didn't hurt, and it doesn't sound like it does, I guess maybe it wouldn't be so
Yeah,
bad. But then again,
yeah,
I don't know if you want to watch yourself die. That would be really creepy.
yeah, that would be creepy. Although most of the time, I can also speak to that a little bit. Most of the time, before you actually die, you pop out of your body.
Yeah,
And
I almost drowned once when I was a kid. I did the come up once, come up twice, and I was going down. Uh, I came up the third time and was going back down, and I think that was going to be about it. But my mom finally dragged me out of the water. I was young. I was like 6 or 7 maybe, but maybe I was older, maybe like 8. But I just forgot how to swim, and as I was struggling, it became weird because it was like I was watching someone else struggle. It was like I don't know, I didn't feel as panicked as I probably should. Initially I did. I was absolutely mortified and terrified. But as it progressed, it was like I felt like I was just kind of drifting. I don't know. And it was more like observing it happening than having it happen is the best way I can surmise that.
yeah, yeah, actually, people have reported that specifically, even with drowning, that there is a certain calmness
Hmm.
that can come over you, that it's almost like you're in some other kind of place, and it's going to be okay anyway, even though you're drowning. You're about to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, other people have said this too. They have past life. I think even Chris was talking about this.
Oh.
Um, how every time he saw these horrible, horrible things that people did in the past life, and me too. I've had some pretty horrible things done to me in past lives. I have a feeling that all of us who come in to do stuff to kind of correct things,
Hmm.
well, not kind of correct things, we're here to correct things. We're here to try and fix this,
Yeah.
I guess.
Sure.
But all of us who do that, we have these horrendous past lives, and in every one of them, though, when we really look at them, we never actually feel our actual death. The stuff leading up to that's been horrendous, but
Hmm.
not the actual death, which might be why some of these people would, instead of just killing you, would torture you a while first, is to make sure you'd be around for that. But when you're about to die, there's some kind of mechanism that you just pop out of your body. And that is also true with suicides.
Right.
So, which has confused some people. I mean, they were so sure they were just going to, because of the way science tries to convince people that they were just gonna fade away and that it was gonna be no more, and then they pop out of their bodies and go, "What have I done?"
Yeah, well,
It's
exactly.
really
That would be horrible.
too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really, but it is comforting that we don't have to feel those last jolts of the death throes. I guess our body is a different consciousness than us, and it dies a little bit after we're already gone. And actually, I watched that with my cat, too. When I watched her leave, her body was still moving around a little, but her spirit had already left.
Hold on to that thought, Dee. We're going to go to break, but just hang on, and we'll come back to this on the other side of the break. So, everybody, we're going to go to our last break. So, don't go away, and there's another half hour of the portal waiting for you on the other side. So, we'll be right back, everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the last half hour of our show tonight, and it's been going wonderfully and great participation. Right now, we are joined with a call from Miss Diane Swiger. Welcome back, Diane.
Hi again.
Hi again. So we were just talking about near-death experiences and stuff like that, and of course, you have a very unique view of that as you experienced one yourself. Now, in the summation of that, they say near-death experiences, but would you say that you had actually died, or were you just near death?
They say near death, and I think the reason they say near death is because they don't want to admit that we died.
Right.
Because some of us have died for 3 days.
Yeah.
We're dead for 3 days and came back. It's like, I mean, you know, there have been cases of people who have been minutes, hours, days, the brain should be gone, you know, so there is definitely something else happening there, and from what I am told, we do have a choice to come back, and in fact, if you have something that was a near death and you return, was that a choice. Now that doesn't mean that everybody who dies didn't. I mean, I cannot. I don't have any information that every single person who dies wanted to let it go just then. However, there are sometimes these agreements that you make, like in a walk-in type of experience. You'll make a agreement, a contract, and it'll be your time to go, whether, you know, at that time, whether you feel that you're ready at that time or not, you'll have to go.
Sure.
It's your time.
And then there's a lot of cases of people experiencing that, and they're told it's not your time. You need to go back.
Right.
So there is that as well.
There's also exit points. And I think this is another thing that maybe a lot of people don't know about, maybe I can bring up for you, is a lot of people who have done a lot of research with near-death experiencers and various stuff. Okay, they say that there seem to be these exit points, and some people can actually see them in your birth chart or your cards or however, or even just psychically can see the times when you're most likely to check out. Well, like there will be times in your life when, you know, you have an option to leave or stay.
Sure.
And those seem to be rather set. Not that I don't believe you can change everything. I believe you probably can change nearly everything under certain circumstances. If you're willing to try and, you know, do whatever work it takes to do so. Because I've seen people's futures change quite a bit. You can only really read the future based on what's going on currently and extrapolate from there. If somebody changes something, their whole future can change.
Right.
However, there do seem to be these set times that you that you will have the option to leave. So knowing those in advance, kind of, you can kind of decide instead of having to decide in the moment.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the ones that I had, there was somebody else going with me, and I said, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to go yet. This is you. This is not me. I'm not supposed to go with you yet. With some fellow that I seem to be dying with. It's like, I think this is yours and not mine. It was really weird. I was like, because see, I've been bit by stuff that should have been fatal. I've had a lot. Okay, I'm not going to go through the list, but I've had a lot of potentially fatal circumstances in my life.
Sure. Where
I could have died. I could have easily died. I had pneumonia coming back from Florida, and I stopped breathing once.
Oh, man.
And that was, yeah. And my mother had to call the ambulance, and they resuscitated me that time.
Wow.
So if I'm a little weird, that could be why I've had.
We love your kind of
know?
weird. We love your kind of weird, Dee. Don't you worry about that.
Thank you. I love your kind of weird too, or I
Exactly.
wouldn't be addicted to this show. Okay.
Exactly.
Because I just love you guys. You guys are the best. I mean, I do, of all of the shows that I watch, and I don't get around as much as I used to the different shows because I have been so exhausted lately. I think something's going on.
Me too,
You know,
oddly enough.
changing.
Yeah, there's something energetically going on. I'm getting that too. I'm absolutely exhausted at the end of the day, and I'll fall asleep for an hour, and I'll wake up and try to fall asleep for another hour and wake up, and it's just a battle every night. So
It's really weird. It's like I'll have lunch. I'll sit down. I'll wake up with my tablet banging me in the head. I'm like, what happened?
Wow.
You know, I fell asleep looking at my tablet.
Oh.
How can I do that? I don't know. But yeah, other people have been complaining of that too. I don't know what's going on, but there is an energetic thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
Me too.
Either that or they're chemtrailing us.
Well, that probably doesn't help any, but it seems to be something's going on because I mean I'll feel these great surges of energy sometimes, and then it's just like it gets sucked out of me way too quick, and it's like I don't understand. This is new to me, and I know I'm getting older, and that may be part of it too. But my God, there's times where I feel like God, I just can hardly stay awake. Almost,
I know, or that I weigh like 5,000 pounds more than I did 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like I can hardly move. Like I'm like somebody turned the gravity way up. It's really weird.
Right.
But
very strange.
I don't know. I think our bodies. What we're being told that our bodies are changing. Humans adapt just like everything else.
Oh, sure.
And we actually change. The latest findings, and I guess Bruce Lipton was one of the people who was instrumental in finding this out. But the solar wind blows dust constantly on all the planets, and that's where a lot of our information comes from, is straight from that solar dust. A lot of our patterning on the different planets comes from the sun blowing the solar dust on us. Now, I don't understand the whole thing. I mean, I can't go into the whole thing, but it's very interesting to find out. I guess David Wilcock mentioned that too, and a couple of other places I've heard this too, that they find that we might be undergoing a change. They say, now, here we go, I can't prove this, that we're actually moving to a different, a more crystalline form of our, instead of iron, we're going to be more, what did they say, more of a silica base. But I can't prove that one way or the other. I certainly can't.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Not one of my things.
Yeah, I don't know either. Those are the kind of discussions I really don't take part in because I have no qualification whatsoever, even intuitively, to render an opinion. It's like I don't know anything about that. But
I can tell you we are changing, though.
Oh, for sure. I don't doubt that at all. I've been saying for about 2 years that there's something energetically going on right now that is incredibly profound and important. And I know that this is a very important time to be alive. Like it's whatever's going on is going to be so profound that on the other side of it, we're going to be, telling stories to our grandchildren about how we were there when this happened, whatever's going on. It just feels that way to me.
Yeah. And we got the good tickets, right? Because we got the human tickets.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yep, absolutely. But
because, there are animals and all other kinds of things here that are only going to live a fraction of the time that we live. But I get the feeling that if you're a human alive here now, no matter what your circumstances, you got the good tickets for this event. And in that regard, if you are alive and a human right now, somehow or other, you lucked out. Okay, you've got something by being here, just by, in which case you should also consider yourself somehow worthy because you're here at this time, at this very important time.
Right.
So your life must be worth something, no matter what you think. And this is something I try to convince people of who, I have known quite a few people who want to check out.
Yeah.
And I tell them, no, go ahead.
No, I can appreciate that. I've gotten the same vibe from many people too.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't want to check out. You came here because this is an important time and you wanted to see it.
Right. Yeah.
So please give it a chance, because I know people who did actually manage to give it a chance, and they managed to find out why they really were here. But, don't wimp out, dudes. I mean, there's something coming, and you wanted to be here for it.
Yeah.
Don't go through all of this life and trouble and stuff that we go through, all of these heartaches and ups and downs and everything, and then miss the big event, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to know what's coming, but something's going on, that's for sure. It's just there's far too many things in flux, So something's.
The other thing is,
Go ahead.
yes, and the other thing is, there's no need to be terrified, because once again, we can't really die. I mean,
Right.
Your spirit will not die. Okay, first of all, this. They try to tell you you're gonna poof, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You will go on in some form. That's number one. And number two, whatever happens, even if you have like a very scary death, you're going to leave before you feel those. Whoa! What the heck was that? You're going to leave before you feel those final death throes, so don't be afraid of that either. And I just wanted to reassure people a little bit about that too. I've probably been what they call near death more than once, really. There's just some of them I don't talk about because they were A, so brief, and B, it's kind of anticlimactic.
Right.
Next to the one where I pull myself up off the steering wheel, even though I'm all like broken up in my chest, and ask why the heck I parked in such a stupid place.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Why did I park the car free? I don't understand why I would have done that. And having the person just about faint because I was dead. And now I'm talking to them and asking them questions, stupid questions too. Like, why did I park my car there?
Wow.
So, it's stuff like everything next to that. But I've been bitten by a brown recluse.
Oh,
and I've, stopped breathing from pneumonia, and I've, just on and on. For a while there, it seemed like, as a matter of fact, after that initial death experience, it seemed like I had a run of them. Like, it must have been a major exit point, which is probably why I brought that up, because I kept having all of these situations where I could die. It's like so many of them that I'm sitting there going, about every other month I'm having something that could kill me. I'm going, what the heck is going on here?
Right.
Falling through a bridge and just all kinds of weird stuff. So anyway, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say right now. I love you guys, and try not to be afraid of anything. Try to hang around for the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's just getting good.
Right.
It's just getting
good. You gotta
good.
stay for the finale, man.
Yep, absolutely.
It's going to be a big one. Right.
Well.
Okay, love you guys.
And Teresa de la Vega also says she was bitten by a brown recluse as well. So glad you made it okay too, Teresa. Wow.
Yeah. That can kill you. I know people who have gone into comas and stuff over that. There's a woman around here that People have lost limbs. People have gone into comas. People have died.
Jeez.
But, oh, by the way, if you get bit by one and you're not dead in 4 days, you're not going to die. You're going to have some immunity after that. So now, you know what? It was funny because before that I had arachnophobia. And after that, I'm like, oh, the most dangerous spider in my state bit me and I didn't die. Well.
Wow. Yeah.
That the shoe was on the other foot. It's like, you guys stay away. I know you can't kill me now.
I'm now
I beat you.
immune to your powers. Yeah. That necrotic tissue looks pretty ugly.
Your power.
Yeah. I've seen the images of those bites, and they're very ugly bites. The tissue goes all necrotic, and it's just ugly. Oh man. Yeah. So that's.
And I know I was lucky that I was bit on the abdomen where I have some fat.
Well, there is that.
It was in one of those instances where I was glad I had a little extra there because that probably saved it from going right into my bloodstream.
Oh, neat.
You know.
Absolutely.
Because if it's somewhere else, it goes into your bloodstream much faster, can do a lot more damage because it actually dissolves you. Ugh. Which is another lovely thing you don't want to happen, right? And you'll feel like you had the worst flu you ever had in your life.
Oh, I bet.
Because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was bit by a brown recluse. I thought I had burned myself or something. That I had been working in exactly where you get them. And I had been working in an old barn where stuff was stored, going through my stuff, trying to get rid of things.
Uh-huh.
And all I felt at the time was just a little, like something stuck me, and then it got kind of itchy, and then it turned into a bruise, and then it turned into these, and then it started turning into holes in my body, and I'm like, what the heck did I do to myself? What do I go to a doctor for it? Oh, no, this is me. You know, some people would be like, rah! They'd be running to the doctor, right? But me, I'm like, oh, no, I'll just do what I always do with wounds, and I'm putting the, you know, different stuff on it and everything to heal it and everything, and feeling like I had the worst flu of my life. So this is the way that I am. Some people go, didn't you go to the doctor? It's like, I didn't think of it.
Wow. Well.
Oh, you know.
Only you.
What?
Absolutely. Wow. That's crazy.
I was busy.
Well, we're glad you're okay. We're still glad you're here with us and keeping us entertained.
You too. I'm glad that all of you are here with us, and so stick around. And love you. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night,
That's
Dee.
it.
Thank you.
Night.
All right. And that was our good friend, Miss Diane Swiger. You know, the phone lines are open. We got 7 minutes left of the show. If anybody else had something they wanted to share, again, 720-923-0500 is the call-in number. 720-923-0500 is the number for the portal. Unfortunately, we don't have a UK number, so you just got to do the long distance if you want to call in. Let's see, where am I at here? I actually wanted to do some time slip stuff. So, let me see if I can find some. All right, here's some time slip stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And, these are just little short stories about them. I'll read a few of them with what time we have left. And, yeah, me too, Randall. I'm pretty much a recluse as well. But so far as I know, I'm not poisonous. Although my exes might disagree with that. But I don't think I am. So let's see what's going on. So here's a vanishing hotel story, and this is to do with time slips. Now, time slips, again, ladies and gentlemen, can be just shifts, weird shifts in time that don't seem to make sense. So let's see what's going on here. In 1979, 2 couples were driving through France on holiday, Jeff and Pauline Simpson, and Len and Cynthia Gisby, looking for a place to stay near Montelimar, and they found a motel. But they were told there were no vacancies and that they should try further down the road, so they set off and soon found themselves driving down a cobbled street. They paused to take an interest in an oddly old-fashioned sign for a circus, and soon they came across a long, low stone building, which was an inn. The couples went inside and were shown to their rooms. The rooms had no glass in them, and they were just simple wooden shutters, and the furniture was basic, and there was no pillows, no telephones, nothing remotely modern, no lifts, and after eating a meal of steak, eggs, and beer, they retired to bed. And at breakfast in the dining room the next morning, they were struck by some bizarrely dressed individuals. A woman in a silk evening gown came down carrying a dog, and it was strange. Pauline said it looked like she had just come from a ball, but it was 7 a.m, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her. Policemen wearing uniforms, later identified to date from around 1905, also sat down to eat, and later, paying their bill, the couples were astonished when they were asked for just 19 francs, just over £2, to cover their stay. 2 weeks down the line, on their way home from the holiday, they decided to stay at the hotel again. But it was no longer there. And developing the rolls of film, they'd snap with their camera all the negatives of the photos they took at the hotel were missing. Baffled, they returned 4 years later again to try to locate the hotel, and they never found it again. Now, is that not bizarre? I mean, that is such an epic story. And I can't verify that it's true or not true. I just don't know. But if it's true, that is perhaps one of the most profound events in the last 100 years or more. I don't know. Maybe this kind of stuff is more common than we realize, but I don't know about staying in an old turn of the 19th century hotel, or 20th century. No. Yeah, 20th century, sorry. And partaking of the food there, interacting with the locals, and then to leave and come back and not be able to find it anymore. It just didn't exist. Very, very bizarre, but very cool. So next one, let's see what I got. I got to keep an eye on the time here. So I got 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. The next one is the White House. In 1971, a pickup truck trundled up to cattle pasture near Ponca City in Oklahoma. Stopping at the gate, the occupants Carl, Mark, and Gordon had been sent there to pick up a feeder. Carl said, "We opened the gate, and there was barbed wire with no lock, and entered, and we went on the property, which was covered with grass, up to and over the hood of the truck, and they drove their pickup through the grass to the feeder and got out. We realized the tank was almost half full and too heavy to load," Carl said. "We decided to leave and drove around a red barn and saw a large 2-story white house with no lights in front of us. So they went back to their employer and explained, and their boss said he'd drain the tank so they could pick it up the next day. We went to the location to retrieve the tank the next night," Carl said. "This time we decided to go through the old white big house on the hill and brought our shotguns. And what they saw was incomprehensible. The house, was no longer there," Carl said. "We walked up the hill where it stood, and there were no signs of demolition, no foundation, nothing at all. What we all seemed to witness that night before was no longer there. We have talked to each other over the years, but none of us can begin to explain this vision." Wild. So this is going on in Liverpool. Back in 1996, Frank was out shopping and decided to visit HMV to look for a CD. And as he walked along the post office, he suddenly felt as if he'd stepped into an oasis of quietness. He was then shocked to see a small box van, reminiscent of the 1950s, speed across his path, narrowly missing him and honking its horn. Frank realized that he was now standing in the middle of the road and looking at what should have been Dylan's bookstore, and the shop now had Crips on its sign, CRIPPS. Inside, he saw upmarket ladies, handbags, and shoes, but no books. Frank followed a young woman inside and watched in disbelief as the interior snapped back to Dylan's. The girl was still there, and Frank grabbed her arm, asking her if she'd seen the same thing, and she replied, yes. I thought it was a clothes shop. I was going to look around, but it's a bookshop. Another incident in Liverpool involved a teenager named Imogen who went out shopping to buy some baby clothes for her older sister, who'd just become a mom, and Imogen noticed a new branch of Mother Care had opened on the corner of Lord Street, and she went inside, selected some pretty items, including polka dot bibs and a pink velour cardigan, also at surprisingly low prices. However, when she tried to pay with her credit card, confused staff told her they couldn't accept it. Not having enough cash, she went to another store before returning home. So there you have it. Another stores that weren't existing. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Stick around for Nikki Colombo coming up next, and later on Paisley Wild. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. See ya.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Woo!